going
That is more of a van, you know.
Yeah, the
Than the
ladder.
new Transit. Yeah, that is much better than the new Transit.
6 foot over the
new Transit. Seriously, I just can't get over it. It looks too.
It does look too cutesy.
Yeah.
Too.
It looks like
nice.
Yeah, it's like that's not a Transit. The interior, it's like no one. Where are you going to put the sun? You know, you can't have page 3 sitting there.
Where are you going to put your copy of FHM? That's the problems that a transit driver has to deal with these days.
Where am I going to put my Burger Van coffee? You know, and all that. My hat as well.
They've just copied the inside of the Fiesta, and it's just totally the wrong look for it. And I mean, outside it looks a bit.
Well, anyway, yeah, this is the second episode of Blowing Turbos, and today's car is his car, which is.
It's a Skoda Fabia 1.4 8-valve comfort trim.
Which
I'm
is
not so proud of the 8-valve, but I am proud of the comfort trim.
Yeah, the comfort trim is sort of
mid-range, mid-spec. But the 1.4 8-valve is the lowest engine you can get, I believe.
I know, but at least it's not the utter poverty spec like someone's Clio. Not that we know someone was that.
No, of course not. Who would buy a Clio? What a stupid car.
I know, who would... same as a Fabia though, who would buy one of them?
Yeah. Exactly.
But we'll go on to the performance specs and such of this powerhouse of a car. All 1.48 valves.
Yeah. Well, it got what, 68 horsepower when it was new?
Aye, 68, so that'll be down a bit now.
That'll be about
60.
Well, I was going to say 40 or 50. But no, I mean, it does shift along when you want it to, so it can't be that bad.
Just go full blast through the puddle.
Yeah, there's a lake up ahead, I'll just warn you.
Yeah.
In case we drown, this is what happened.
Right, so it's 68 horsepower new, which got you a top speed of around 100 bang on, wasn't it?
Around 100 miles an hour, 101 is the quoted number. I have no idea what it is for real.
Well, downhill, I don't know, 105. We'll have to test that on a closed track one day. But it's 0 to 60 is another interesting figure, which was it?
A long time.
Yeah. It's roughly about the same as the Clio, wasn't it? Or was it slightly less?
I think the Clio's faster.
Faster, but it does lug about a little less weight. So what is this?
A lot less weight.
This is
about
14, say 15, 14.9 it says.
Yeah.
So that's
I was going to say this is 1,300 kilos and the Clio's 990.
Yeah.
So that shows you the difference.
And then plus you got to add the driver on as well, which...
Hey, I'm not that heavy.
Hey, I'm just saying in general. It's something folk don't take into account.
Are you trying to offend me now?
No, it's something folk don't take into account. There's a 944 there. Yeah, it's something folk don't take into account is driver weight.
Yeah.
You know, it's all well saying.
Yeah, because the curb weight is basically the car with nothing in it.
It also depends on if it's a dry weight or not, which is even less, you know, without the engine oils and such like that in it.
The engine oil isn't that much.
Engine oil, coolant, brake fluids, you know, it does add up, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a big car, fuel tank as well.
Yeah.
That's a big weight. Which, speaking of fuel tanks, this is
45 litres.
45 litres.
Which is interesting because it's 5 litres less than the Clio.
Aye, well...
Which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because this gets worse MPG and it's a bigger car.
Yeah.
So the fuel tank's smaller, of course.
The MPG is 34 to 40.
Yeah. It was quoted as 39, but you can actually get 39 out of it if you try really hard.
But yours is the powerhouse model, yours being, or isn't. Let's move on to the real powerhouse model you do get of this, which is the VRS model, which I believe was the first VRS models for the Skoda range.
Yeah.
Which
I believe so.
Interestingly, was probably the first and probably still the only proper.
I think it is still the only proper diesel hot hatch.
Unless you count the Golf, was it GTD? But
yeah, but the GTI was still faster than it. So, whereas in, what was it, 2000 to 2007 when that VRS ran, you couldn't get a VRS with a petrol engine.
Yeah,
it was diesel only.
Diesel. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But
it's 130 horsepower from the VRS.
Yeah,
top speed about 128 allegedly. But I mean, everyone compares it to the Mini Cooper Works, whatever it was.
The Cooper G John Cooper Works, or
I don't know if it was that one, but it was basically the fastest Mini Cooper at the time was the same price and roughly the same sort of trim level and everything. And the Fabia VRS was way faster than it.
So the Fabia does have the great advantage of torques.
Yeah, exactly. Which, if you don't know what torques are, we don't know either, so don't ask us.
I've got a faint idea, but I'm not religiously going to say that's right. In other words, if you're not familiar, torque's pretty much how fast you get up to your speed, whereas top speed is, well, top speed.
But then what's horsepower? I've never understood the difference.
I think horsepower helps you get higher speeds, I believe. Don't quote me on this. Whereas torques is like, you know, your oomph to get there. It's all well having, you know, like, it's all well having 1,000 horsepower, but if you got bugger all torques, then I mean, in everyday situations, you know, top speed's nothing. It's how quick you can get to 60, I suppose. I'm not saying that's how I drive or we drive. But
well, I mean, the big point that Skoda made about the Fabia VRS is, like, what was it, in fifth gear, 50 to 70 was quicker than a BMW 330i. So that's the big point that they made about it, is that, like, this is why diesel is better. Because you've got all that torque.
Well, while we're on the space of engines, there was other engines you could get for this model, other than the poverty spec 8-valve and top of the range VRS. I
mean, there was a ton of engines. The ones you really want are the 1.4 16-valve petrol, the 1.9 TDI diesel, and the VRS. Those are the three you really want. Because I mean, the 16-valve petrol one's really nippy, and it's what was it?
100 horsepower.
100 horsepower, 115 miles an hour top speed.
11 seconds to 60 and 39 mpg, which
is pretty good for what it was. The only thing is that one engine to avoid is the 1.9 SDI, which is basically the same engine, but it's not turbocharged. Apparently it was really slow and really loud, and it got quite poor MPG for a diesel. So avoid it like the plague. Basically.
But the other diesel engine you got, the non-VRS turbo diesel, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the normal 1.9 TDI, that was a good engine.
It's pretty much a VRS without the sort of sporty tweaks and that. So in theory you could make your own VRS for half the, well, I say half the price now.
It would be a lot less.
Well, is it a new, if you were to get this generation VRS, they start at about $3,000, I've noticed.
I mean, if you want a decent one, they start at $3,000. If you want a dog, then you can get one for about 1,500 quid, but you'll regret it.
Right, let's move on to the practical issues of the car, stuff like interior space and
the boring bit, basically.
Well, it's important. I mean, I want to know how many bodies, bags of shopping I can fit in the boot and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, in raw numbers, it's got 260 litres boot space, which is more than the Clio that we reviewed last week. And it's less than the Polo, which this is based on the Polo.
Yeah, the same 2000 $2,099, isn't it, Polo?
So yeah, the Polo is slightly bigger boot, which is surprising because it's got less interior space. So I suppose VW sacrificed interior space for a bigger boot. But I mean, in real terms, those crates that you get for shopping, about that big, you can get two of those in the boot easy, and then you can stack two more on top of them. So that's easily enough for a weekly shop for like a family of 5. You know, so heaps of space.
For a side note though, what is it? You get quite a bit of space if you put the rear seats back though as well.
Yeah, it's like,
was it 1,000 litres or something like that? Interior as well though, you know, since we're on boot space and practicalities, I'd say it's good all-round space.
There's heaps of space. You can easily fit 5 people in it in relative comfort. I mean, you'd fit 4 in it, no bother, and you'd be very comfy. You can fit 5 in okay.
Aye. I've been in cars that are a lot smaller, so I'd say this is one of the bigger cars.
I mean, I've got to have my seat quite far back because I'm really tall, and I can still have like full-size adults sitting behind me, so it's not short on space. But I mean, the problem that all hatchbacks have, 5-seat hatchbacks, is the middle seat is too
useless.
small.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a small person in there, but if you want to put 3 full-size adults in the back seat, you're going to have a problem with any car, not just this.
You're going to have a bad time. I just had to fit that in. Actually, since we're on interior plastics, well, I say plastics, you know what I mean, interior materials.
Yeah,
would be
it is all plastic, really.
Yeah. Personally, I would say it's more tackier, well, feels not tackier, but you know what I mean?
It's all rough plastic.
Yeah, whereas the Clio had that sort of fake foamy sponge leather effect, whereas this is all sort of hard plastics, but it doesn't, you know, unless you're someone who's, you know, it probably won't bother if you're buying a car.
If you're buying a car of this price range, it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's been made cheaply.
Aye.
But it's been made well, if that makes any sense.
Oh, I'll say that. There's nothing that feels loose.
It's been built down to a price, but it's been put together really well.
If you were to get a Rover 25, which I'd say, you know, same size sort of thing car, but the interior on that, it looks nice and impressive, but it does feel a bit, once you start opening stuff, you go, yeah, I see why Rover have this quality. But it's a good quality for Rover, really good. I mean, it's luxury, the epitome of luxury. Yeah, so let's talk about the handling of the car, which, describe it in your own words.
It's pretty good. It's nice and confident, and there's lots of feel through the steering. I'm afraid the only car I've got to compare it to is the Fiat 500, which Fiat 500 is nice and nippy, but the steering's not got any feel to it because it's electronic steering, which I loathe with a passion because it's terrible. But I mean, this car's pretty good. I mean, you can obviously feel it's quite heavy. You can feel it's quite heavy, but it's got a lot of grip. You know what I mean? You don't get the sense when you go around.
Go. Sorry.
You don't get the sense when you go around a corner a bit too fast that you're going to fall off the road and into a ditch.
Aye. Well, although I've not driven this car, I've been passenger in it many times, and it's been driven spiritedly, and I've also seen it in my tail mirror when on a spirited drive as well. And yeah, I'll say it does feel like it's a solid car. You know, it doesn't look like it's weaving about sort of thing, where you look at it and it's sort of, that back wheel's going to lift sort of thing. It does look like it's planted to the road.
I mean, compared to the Clio, how does it feel from the passenger seat?
It's been a while since I was in the passenger seat of the Clio, and I'm getting thrown about the place. But I know it does feel more stable than the Clio when driving, I'd just say in general. Even from the passenger seat here, the Clio just feels, it's maybe because I'm used to heavier cars, but it just feels light, and you know, it's good for the handling, but there's a few times when you're like, yeah, that did feel close to its limits.
Yeah. Whereas I've never really, I don't think I've ever got close to the limits of this car, but maybe that's just my driving.
Reliability.
Now, the thing that I don't understand is for when you say reliability in Skoda, it always seems to be a punchline. I don't mean
reliability as in, you know, it's always at the side of the road broken, like parts-wise or what?
Very, very reliable cars. The reason they got such a reputation is because in the 70s they were using technology from the 50s. That's why they got a reputation. And it's just stuck ever since. And there's really no reason for it.
It is starting to lift though, which is why the current generations are driven by, you know, younger folk in general.
On the whole, they're more reliable, I think, than VWs. which is surprising. Like the new generations are.
They'll be cheaper to maintain as well. Cause take one of these for a service, it'll probably be a lot cheaper than the equivalent Volkswagen product.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because the current range and the previous range of Skodas, they're all based on VWs, so parts are really easy to get a hold of, and they're quite cheap because there's so much of them.
Yeah. But are there any sort of known problems that you've encountered, or sort of problems that will happen, sort of thing, like with Rovers? If you've got a K-Series engine, chances are head gasket will have gone or will go.
There's nothing like across the whole range, like with the 1.9 TDI and the 1.4 16 valve. Those two engines are really reliable. The issue with this engine, the 1.48 valve, is engine electrics are quite unreliable up to a point. If you do go to get one of these with the 1.48 valve engine, make sure they've been changed. That's actually something we didn't know about, and we kind of lucked out that they had been changed, as it turns out. Yeah, the only kind of other small issue is the thermostat, that they're not very well made. The first thermostat on this engine wasn't very well designed, and they broke pretty easily. The next generation of thermostats, they brought out like an update for it, and it was a little bit better, but I bought one of them to replace the one that was in this originally, and it still broke. So,
and that was over a small period of time as well.
Yeah. I mean, I bought the new thermostat and put it in, and I think after about 2 months it stopped working again. But I mean, that's a relatively small issue. You can obviously still run the car without a thermostat. It just means it won't heat up as much. Which it'll affect your MPG a little bit and things like that, but it's not a major thing.
Well, while we're on reliability, we've got another important, depending on your point of view anyway, issue, and that's safety.
Yeah, now this was pretty good for its class and its time. We got 4 stars for
NCAP.
NCAP, 4 stars for adults and 2 stars for pedestrians.
Pedestrians doesn't matter though, does it?
I wouldn't say it matters that much.
Was safety though, is if you were to take into account the current NCAP rules and regulation, would it still be the 4-star?
I doubt it. They've added a lot of stuff to the NCAP safety test since then, so it would probably be 3 stars. It is a good little car. It does have that kind of reputation of it's an old biddy's car. And to a certain extent it is, but for this price range and this age, I'm not really complaining about the image it has.
Well, it is a good car, and the image might put folk off, sort of thing. We all joke, it's like, oh yeah, it's an old person, you're no AP, but
and everyone jokes about them being unreliable, but the truth is they are really reliable.
It's as reliable as, let's say, my Clio, sort of thing. It's reliable. The only problems are wear and tear, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, this has done nearly 114,000 miles now, and it's still running fine, so...
just do its regular servicing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't even really take it in for a service. We do that sort of stuff at home,
That's what I mean by that. If you've got a car of this age and this price,
there's
if
no
you're
point
taking it into a garage,
there's no point in taking it back to the dealer just to get the service stamp.
It's a laugh at you.
It's not going to hold much value anymore.
It doesn't do any value, I would say, for this car. Yeah, one good thing about it is not many folk our age would have one as their first choice of car, sort of thing. So in that reason alone, insurance for our prices, our age is cheap, I'd say.
Yeah.
Particularly for the engine size.
Well, that's the thing. It's 1.4 engine, and yours is a
1.2.
1.2.
But my insurance is weird, sort of thing. as in stupidly low, I'd say. But
yeah, it was.
I have checked it for if you were a 17, 18-year-old, and on like a policy not like mine, and yeah, it's about two and a bit grand, $2.5 sort of thing.
Yeah, which mine was 2,100.
Aye.
Which, yeah, what I was saying, this is a 1.4 engine and the Clio's 1.2, but they're in the same insurance group.
Yeah.
Which I think is a bit to do with the image of the car.
It's insurance group 8 though, isn't it? Something like that.
No, it's 7.
7, oh.
They're both in 7.
And so as a passenger in the car, though, I'd agree with you. As I've not driven it, I probably will do one day.
Yeah.
But it feels good. You don't feel cramped, sort of thing.
No.
I've not got my seat all the way back. I've got plenty of leg room, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, you don't feel claustrophobic in it like you do the new BMW 1 Series.
Oh, that's terrible.
Aye. So, summary altogether, what would you say?
It's a good little car. I've not got any real complaints about it. I mean, the engines are quite nice, especially if you go for the right ones. I mean, this engine's okay, but I mean, it was my first car. And I mean, there's lots of space inside, it's nice and quiet, it's easy to drive. What more can you say?
It gets from A to B.
Yeah, there's no real downfalls to it. I mean, it is cheap and it's quite low quality compared to some other cars, but because it's cheap, you don't complain about that,
Yeah.